Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, it's like on one hand, it's embarrassing, but on the other hand, if you can sit in it for a while and get better and, go on the apology circuit and make things better and become better because of it, which I think I have in spades. But yeah, that was a really dark time.
Understandably. A lot of girls.
Well, it's crazy. If you sit in it long enough too, you realize like the things you do to cope.
Right.
And if they're healthy or not, or if they like serve you or not. Yeah, I was doing a lot of running, like filling the gap with a bunch of other stupid shit.
Yeah.
You want some tunes on? Gina, we could throw Pandora on.
You guys like it to me.
Yeah.
Still looking. It's good.
Hurry.
Say it. We go, Christopher. Seems like Tom. Little baby bun faces.
Gina, you recording?
Yeah, I'm still here.
No, this has been a lot of effort for you guys, so I appreciate our effort.
Yeah, bro. We love having you around.
We
Was that in a shot? Burris?
No.
not.
Yeah.
Why'd you raise it?
Sit out.
Should bring the tip closer. Yep. Keep coming a little if it doesn't fuck up the camera. Dope.
Turning it on mic stuff because
It
his head.
You can't get his mic to what?
I'm trying to use your word like with stars like keep you.
Uh,
Well, that fan feels nice, though.
so, Mike, what's a time where you, like for me, it fits that all this pressure and made a bunch of bad decisions. You know, you potentially ruined some relationships. What's something you've been through like that where you, once you look back, you were like,
Cringe.
yeah, not only cringe, but I need to write some of these. I need to be a better man. I need to. What's an example in your life of you going through something like that in the last decade?
Yeah. Well,
Because we do a lot of that in our 20s and 30s.
yeah. Really, your whole life, if you've grown, I mean, looking back, you could have done a little better, you know? When I was on Ultimate Fighter, you know, I was there very prematurely. I just really had no idea what I was doing as far as like how to manage like a fight career. Really, it was all just unfolding in front of me. And I remember when I got off of the show, I think it was my first fight. So I had run into the tap out guys at Grappler's Quest in Las Vegas when I was just like a blue belt grappling.
Yeah.
And they were super cool to me. Like, maybe because I was heavily tattooed or whatever, like they just linked up with me right away and like were coming to my matches and watching me grapple and stuff from their table. And they were big, but not as big as they got.
Right.
You know? And so my first fight out of the UFC, they sponsored me and you know, paid me well or whatever. And I wore like tap out shorts or whatever, however it worked out. And then the next fight, I was like, oh, well, I'm a big deal. I'm fighting in the UFC. So I'm going to, you know, I'll just reach out to all these brands and ambassador for myself. And, you know, they were all like, I pretty much was just like, you know, hey, you know how this works. I'll wear whoever's stuff, the highest bidder. So whoever's going to give me the biggest check, you know, you can have my business or whatever.
Right.
In the assumptiveness of my own value, right? For the exposure that I was generating. But in reality, I really was just a pebble in a pond.
Right.
And didn't acknowledge the loyalty that could have been had to the tap out guys. And so they sponsored the fighter I was fighting versus me. Yeah, but just in that moment, I felt like I could have been so much more appreciative and grateful for like the support that I felt from them beyond just monetary. Right. But then I was like, okay, well, here's my window. I'm going to make my money and I'm going to maximize my exposure and maximize my revenue. And, you know, I was looking at it from a self-serving perspective instead of, hey, what can we build together perspective? Because sometimes my optimization, is not everyone's goal. Right. You know, it's just my goal. I have to remember that. And yeah, that was kind of the end of that relationship.
Yeah, no, it's how old were you?
Oh, well, I'm embarrassed to say I didn't get into the UFC until I was probably 33. So, but I already had a successful business. My real estate portfolio was huge and growing, and you know, I wasn't coming from a place of need, and I think that was part of what I regret too.
What's the regret? Like, why do you regret it?
It just wasn't the best example of who I am and where I put my priorities.
How could you have done it differently?
I could have fostered those relationships. You know, I could have fostered the relationships more importantly than the monetary value of the relationships.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we just had an example of, a good example of that is like, I never used to totally understand this when I was younger, but like when you depart from people or you do want to take another deal, is like just having that conversation, as tough as it may be.
Yeah.
Do you agree or no? Like you can still have that conversation in a way or explore that opportunity, I think.
Yeah. I think it wasn't wasn't my intention to me that it was gross. It was just my, hey, you know how this works. I'm for sale to the highest bidder, you know, bid for me, you know, rather than like, you know, to me, that's just the gross word all about it. And I would go to it. There was that one particular stretch, the tall guy from Tap Out. He was always really cool to me, really feminine. And I felt like I disrespected him at that conversation. Because I was, you know, wild rights, I was nobody. Still am. But that's not true. Somebody in my nobodies. I don't care to be somebody. You know what I mean? Happy just being me.
What's the difference between somebody versus?
I think that somebody is looking for approval and acceptance and acknowledgement from external forces rather than just being comfortable with, you know, the quietness of yourself.
For people who don't feel that way, what makes you confident in yourself? Because we talk about this off camera. It's like sometimes you have employees or teammates where when you challenge somebody, they fill it with ego and like not lies, but they, you know, they'll make excuses or whatever. We were talking off camera how like if you have really a ton of self-confidence, you just gotta own shit. What gives you that ability to be so in your lane?
I think if I had to bring it to a single explanation, it would be, you know, doing the right thing no matter what, you know, like doing the right thing, whether it benefits me or the person that, you know, has done me wrong or anything, like regardless of the topic, I try and do what I feel is right, regardless of, you know, the topic, regardless of the environment, regardless.
But that gives you like a self-confidence.
Yeah. Cause I know myself. I know who I am and I know I do the right thing. I know I'm a good human, you know.
How do you know that? Not as a challenge, as like a description for the, like, I mean, if someone's watching this and they go, how do you get that sort of level of?
I think I operate from a place of love, you know, for my kids, my family, my environment. I try and bring value to people around me. Just be genuine. I'd be genuine. And in that, I don't stumble because I know who I am. I don't stammer on my ethics or my morals or my principles because they're not for approval. They're just like who I am.
How did you find those though? Like,
still finding them in a
like, for instance, the way I would describe mine is like reading books, having a spirituality. You know, for me, spirituality, whether it was Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, allows you to realize that there's a greater love, that you don't need people's acceptance. But it took a lot of years of me sort of studying that idea to understand that, to sort of accept myself. So what was for you over the years, what would you say was the accumulation of you going, I'm okay as I am, besides doing like the right thing?
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to put a finger on because it's an accumulation of so many experiences that, you know, chipped away at all of my perceptions of reality and of myself and who I was, and, you know, learning lesson after lesson of trying to please people or being disingenuous to myself to try and fit in, or, you know, really getting to a point where I question really who I am and what I believe, and if how I'm articulating the words coming out of me, whether or not they are actually representing exactly what I believe and who I truly understand myself to be, or if I'm placating or, you know, dumbing down or, you know, whatever. I don't know. I got to a place where I felt like my authentic self was my most valuable self, and then just, you know, made the conscious decision not to compromise it for anyone or any environment. And then I think in that, the power of that is, it's cliche to say, but your vibe creates your tribe. And once you connect with your authentic self, you know, the people that fuck with you. And the people that don't, so be it. That's fine too.
Yeah. Would you say part of that is like part of that formula is understanding what your principles are? And do you think fighting had anything to do with that self-confidence, sort of finding some of those principles? Not fighting on the street. I mean, organized jiu-jitsu, sort of being.
I love jiu-jitsu as a mathematical system, right? Like it's it taught me that I could learn anything. It's just a matter of what I put my mind to. And what it taught me really was the mathematics of learning and how they applied to my life at that time. And yeah, jiu-jitsu is the way for that, for sure. As far as confidence, I mean, I was already pretty confident prior to that, which I don't know. It's hard to say. I can't really lock that down, where it was or what it is. I think I would say I was born with it, but that's not entirely true either, because as a young person in the world, I was a very gentle spirit. And I think the world made me harder over time. And then, but then as I get older, I get back to being that gentle spirit.
I mean, you did off camera tell me to sit down and shut the fuck up. I mean,
Work in progress.
we did talk about forgiveness.
You can be both, right?
You can.
Hence the tattoo.
Yeah, you can.
You can do both. I am both gentle and ferocious.
It's an interesting line, dude. Yeah, I would say for me, it was, you know, I think fighting and sports taught me a ton of those things. We just had a talk the other day with somebody about, I don't like, in this scenario, I don't love to use the word alpha, but you can tell somebody who's comfortable with themselves when they hang out with other people who are comfortable with themselves. So if you want to call that an alpha, but generally true alphas have like other alpha friends because they're not afraid to be checked, or
Right.
They have a pretty
They're not intimidated.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say for me, a lot of reading, a lot of spirituality, a lot of having the courage to go try things and fall on my face.
There's definitely a confidence that comes with being able to handle yourself. For instance, like in jiu-jitsu, right? Like,
Yeah.
once you've learned the mathematics of combat and being able to physically handle yourself, we've talked about before that your need to posture or front goes away because you're no longer posturing for position. You're comfortable with who you are, what you know, how you move. And
It's like getting choked out enough too. You're just like,
I
I could lose at any second.
You
Like,
can't
right?
learn jiu-jitsu without being humbled.
Right.
And, you know, the whole principle of jiu-jitsu guarantees that you will be dismantled. All of your expectations and ideas and self-perceptions of how capable you are and what you would do in a situation that required you to defend yourself. All of your preconceived ideas are out the window. Or when you've got some like 160 pound, 17-year-old choking you unconscious.
Right.
Without even trying, the bored look on his face while you're fighting for your life. It'll teach you a lot about yourself. I think everybody that doesn't train has some idea of like, oh, well, if I was in that situation, I would do this. But there's just no comparison to somebody who knows the mathematics and the patterns of jiu-jitsu to somebody who doesn't. It's a slaughter.
I mean, I think the person we had in yesterday, I think business is like that too. You go out and you have the courage to try something or go broke or put out art or they always say business is war without bullets. You get humbled, you get smacked around, you lose money, but you get back on the horse and you keep trying. I think it develops that confidence too
I agree. That's probably part of it too. Like, my stepdad, for all of his shortcomings, he used to always tell me that I had delusions of grandeur. Which I figured that was probably his perspective because he wasn't really my dad. Had he been my dad, he'd be like, fuck yeah, son, get it. Nothing can stop you. But those delusions of grandeur, which I feel like everybody should have to some degree, should expect that they're capable of everything. They can do anything. They're only limited by their own.
I gotta pee again. Sorry.
Oh, come on, bro.
I know. This is the last one.
It just started. I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Let me get back on.
Are you sure on the audio you can fix this at post?
Yeah.
Okay.
You losing the guy here. Right. But that self-belief is really, that's everything, right? And I think, like, of course you're going to stumble. Of course you're going to make mistakes. But being willing to be the fool in a new environment where, where you don't know what you're doing, but willing to be that guy, because that's what jiu-jitsu takes. You show up.
It takes reps.
Yeah. Not just reps. Humility.
I mean, not just on the jit side, but just like being willing to be the fool enough.
Yeah.
Where you
put yourself in a position to learn and grow. To not be good at something publicly.
Right. Well, okay. Well said. Yeah. I just don't think enough people have that, you know, that. I don't know. It's crazy. Like one of the things I realized the other day is like people get really weird when they think they don't have options and you have all the options.
Yeah. We literally are our own limitations.
Leave.
I say often that the only people that aren't manifesting and creating the life they want is because they don't realize they can. They put that as like some goal outside of themselves rather than recognizing like their own intrinsic power to create it. And I've never suffered from that. I've always been like, oh yeah, I could do that. I could do that.
But you realize there are people who do, right?
That do what?
Like, so I got really into, as we've gotten more into tech, I was telling you this off camera, the more I've gotten into like, how does language, the only reason tech moves so fast is because they have shared languages, right? Zeros, ones that can pass through systems. And so I got really geeked out on this idea of like the Romans, the Egyptians, these great civilizations were great system architects. They could pass ideas down quickly. They could move fast. They could, I mean, the Egyptians even wrote their code on the walls, right? Hieroglyphs is just code for the next group of people. They left directions everywhere. What I realized studying that though is that people have calcified beliefs that you don't even, sometimes you're not even aware of it. Meaning like maybe you grow up and your mom told you money is the root of all evil. And so it instilled this programming into you that if you're not aware of it, may dictate a ton of the decisions you make. Therefore sort of putting you in this box of you don't believe you can.
Right.
I'm not saying that's an excuse. I'm not saying
100%.
Like guys like you and I are built for like, if someone says you can't, or I do get choked out, I'm going to immediately jump up and be like, fuck this, fuck that guy, fuck this situation.
Back.
Right.
Yeah. No, that's 100% true. So, my wife, currently she doesn't have an Instagram. She just, doesn't want to waste her time on social media and stuff like that or whatever, which is to me is a superpower too, because it's consuming. It's designed to be that way, right? It makes slaves of us all. But from the business page, she came across a post about bad air, right? In Colorado, having the worst air in the United States currently. And so she commented.
Because of fires.
Well, yes, but there's so much more. Colorado since 2008 has been exercising geoengineering. And it's public information. You can find it on the websites. It's not political. It's not right versus left. It's just factual that they've been doing in Colorado since 2008 and maybe a little before, which they label as researching. There's a program called Silver Lining. There's a few other programs. Basically what they're doing is they're cloud seeding or chemtrailing or they have machines that are just pumping the shit into the atmosphere. Under the pretense that it's to generate moisture in the clouds and create rain. Where's the proof? It's only gotten drier and drier and drier here every year. Well, so irregardless of where people stance on those topics, global warming and so on, all these people in the comments came for her aggressively. And most of them assumed her political alliance based on what she posted, even though there was nothing inflammatory, nothing political. It was just factual of information that she had done research on and had the sites, the receipts to share it. But people came for her like irrationally aggressive, right? And disrespectful and crude and angry. And it was all like absurd. It was all absurd.
Right.
Because her only pretense was what's good for the environment and humanity. And people were vigilantly arguing against it, throwing rocks, being aggressive, being ugly. And for what? Like you're arguing against what's good for humanity or, and most of them had done no independent research.
Right. Cite me 2 sources.
Yeah. And once she cited the sources, they were like, what's your source? And she, gave them the sites of the sources of where she got the information. And a few of them were intelligent enough to come back and be like, oh, okay,
fair enough.
Fair enough. My mistake. You were right. But some of them were just, more comfortable being aggressive and ugly. And to your point, that's what it is. When people have a limited mindset, their basis of their understanding of reality, when that is challenged, it makes them uncomfortable. And then so they lash out to defend that limited perspective that they hold as their world
Facts
of what they understand.
Facts. This goes back to the calcified belief of like,
calcified
facts.
Beliefs. We get comfortable with something, we lock in on it, and then we defend it like it's all that exists.
Facts. Yeah, we do that because if, Gina and I always say that a lot of times our standards are high enough that when we get around people, it rubs them the wrong way.
Right.
Because it puts a mirror in your face, right? Like
it magnifies their own shortcomings.
Right.
Yes, I've experienced that too.
Is it dumping rain?
Yeah.
Rain, really? That's good.
Speaking of, right on cue, huh?
Yeah, I did that with my mind.
You see it happen a lot with, not to make this too political, but like in the Middle East right now, like, or any sort of political ideation or theology that gets sort of just blasted out on social medias or the media. And people build these like calcified defenses around Republican, Democrat.
Right. Part of what was startling was just that. It was the evidence of generations of division, the effectiveness of, geopolitical propaganda and how it's militarized division, your community and society to where we have less concern with what's right or wrong, and we have more concern with being right or wrong. Startling. But all that only exists if you're willing to argue with fools.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to. A parent, a loved one, maybe somebody is.
If the investment is worth it.
How do you determine that?
A lot of times just trying to prove you're right is a waste of time. You're not going to change anybody.
Right.
But to my wife's point, all she was trying to do was plant seeds and have people
just have a conversation.
Look it up. And and that's what she thought. Like, why wouldn't people come back and just be like, oh, it's interesting that you feel this way. I feel this way. Let's have a dialogue about where you got your information, why you think this is true, versus attacks and, name calling and curse words. And I was like, well, you have to remember, sweet darling baby angel, that the internet is full of people that are only empowered by the anonymity of their keyboard, and that not every person behind the keyboard is a well-adjusted, intelligent being worth having a conversation with.
Right.
And if you're going to put your opinion out for the world to scrutinize,
you got to be ready for that.
Expect exactly what you are looking for. Now, if you can do it for entertainment and so be it and enjoying yourself, fine. But if it causes you emotional, stress or anything like that, then don't engage.
Yeah, Kamosi and I used to talk about that a lot in the studio where, as a fighter, he'd post stuff about a fight coming up and whether he won or lost, and people would be in his comments just like talking shit.
Oh, yeah.
And
the bigger venue you have, the more shit talking you better be ready for.
Yeah, no, and him and I used to talk about it all the time because Fitzoda got big enough and our audience got big enough that we got death threats and fucking we got blackmailed a bunch, which is weird. Sued a bunch.
Time for all that shit,
But to your point, there's a bunch of people out there who are just like full of vitriol and don't have anything else to do.
Yeah. Blackmailed?
Oh, bro, we got blackmailed a bunch.
Well, from like internally, like employees or like, or just random people. Like,
well, the first one happened by a random person who hit us up on Instagram and was like, hey, your product made me sick, which by the way is a huge concern in that industry.
Of course, yeah.
You're always making consumables in a way where you're like,
the whole goal is to,
yeah. And it's a big deal. And so, the first one we ever got was a guy who sent us a bunch of pictures that he was in the hospital, and we were kind of just on the verge of taking off. So like,
you don't want bad press.
Yeah. More importantly, we didn't we really are like concerned. Like, did that really happen? Do we have to do a recall? Do we have to like,
we don't want this to spiral.
Right. But yeah, we called it. He was full of shit and just trying to get money out of us. So that was the first one. And then it, over the years, just escalated from investors to more shit like that. People suing us all the time for, I mean, towards the end, we would get a lawsuit a week for, the brand got big enough that every week some lawyer who sent in some person would read our label claims. And if they're not up to date every week, you run the risk of being sued, which is pretty common. So we would get one of those once a week. Yeah, it happened all the time.
So did you get kind of numb to it, or was it just disheartening every time it showed up? You're just like, well, I'm trying to do something good, or it's just like chopping at your knees?
Yeah, you get, I think we got numb to it. Chris and I used to joke, like, he was pretty numb to it. I think he kind of fed off some of it. He loves that, or not loves it, but he was like, he would like play the game with him.
Right.
I think for us at a certain point, there was definitely times where it didn't make me emotional, but like, in a given week, there'd be people who would like rip on us in podcasts. We'd have multiple people talking shit about our stock price. There was definitely times that it affected me where I was like, dude, we're just, some days I would make minimum wage
trying to build something.
Yeah. And it just,
I say often it's easier to throw rocks than it is to build a castle. So people line up to throw rocks, you know, but not everybody lines up to build a castle.
So dude, spinning off that idea, there was this, Gina and I talk about this topic a lot, where I heard Tony Robbins once say, he goes, wealth distribution is really hard, because if you were to give all the money that rich people make, like, let's say Elon, who just, his personal net worth was $1 trillion, right? Let's say he gives all that away. Tony made the point, he goes, the same people who made the money would get it back. And he goes, let's be clear, because I know your immediate objection is, well, they're going to do it through manipulation, through power, whatever. And he goes, no, it's because those people have different standards. So if we give all the money back out, yes, sure, some people would do well with it, but the majority of people would lose it, and the same people would get it back. To your point of like, yeah, it's super easy to throw rocks and or like talk shit versus to go build something and make art and put it out and deal with that rejection or the bullshit that comes with it.
And so all that really comes down to is, which type of person do you want to be? Right?
Which there's only two types of people. You either create value or extract it.
Right.
You either make or take. You either, right?
Yeah.
And maybe it's more nuanced than that, but that's how I see it.
Yeah.
You're either a builder or not.
Yeah.
Like the whole idea of a good society is that you add value to the next person.
I think that it's easy to get caught up in the frustration of the world not meeting you where you're at.
Yeah.
But if you can just be comfortable and happy and content